The arrival. The chamber of the Galactic Council was vast, filled with voices that whispered in low tones. Light from the great crystal ceiling spread across the hall, touching the polished stone floor where delegates of many species gathered. They came from worlds of ice, fire, oceans, and air. Some had wings, some had scales, others moved on long arms instead of legs. They were the rulers of 1,000 star systems, the voices of civilizations that had lasted for millions of years. But tonight their voices trembled. The council had always been sure of its place. For centuries, no new species had risen high enough to be called to the hall. Most races took thousands of years to move from their first rockets to star travel. But this night was different. The messengers had come running with news that shocked even the oldest races. Humanity, a young species from a blue world at the edge of the spiral arm, had stepped into the stars. At first, the council laughed. It was a weak race bound to one small planet. Their lifespan was short, their history full of wars and mistakes. But when the ships were seen crossing into the outer systems, silence fell. The laughter stopped. The humans had not only built ships, they had armed them. And they had not come to ask for permission. They had come ready. The heavy doors opened with a sound that echoed like thunder. Every delegate turned their eyes to the entrance. The guards stood stiff, their weapons lowered in respect. 3 figures walked inside. They were tall, wearing uniforms of dark fabric that shone faintly under the lights. Their steps were firm, their heads high. The humans had arrived. The first was a woman with sharp eyes that seemed to cut through the air. She walked like a soldier who had seen battle. Behind her, 2 men followed, one carrying a small case, the other scanning the chamber with calm, steady eyes. They looked different from each other, different skin, different hair, but they moved as one. Whispers broke out across the chamber. "So fast," a delegate hissed. "Too fast." Another whispered, "How did they build such ships?" A third muttered, "They should not be here yet." The human woman stopped at the center of the hall. She lifted her eyes toward the council's high seats where the oldest rulers sat. Her voice was calm, clear, and strong. "We are here," she said. "We come from Earth. We are humanity." No translator was needed. Their machines had already learned the common speech of the galaxy. The sound of human words rolled across the chamber, strange yet steady. An alien leader with skin like glass leaned forward. His voice was cold. "You are not ready to sit in this hall. Your race is too young. Your wars have burned your own world. Why should we let you walk among us?" The woman did not lower her gaze. She answered with only a few words. "Because we already walk here." Gasps moved through the crowd. Her answer was not a request, it was a statement. The second human stepped forward and placed the small case on the ground. With a touch, it opened. Inside glowed a sphere of blue light, spinning and alive. The council members leaned closer. It was a core of energy unlike any they had seen. "This," the man said, "is human work. We made it in less than 50 years. It powers our ships, our cities, our weapons. It is clean, it is endless. We did not come to beg. We came to stand equal." The chamber fell silent. Even the breathing of the large reptilian delegates slowed. A race that was supposed to take thousands of years to rise had done it in less than 100. The council members felt a new weight on their shoulders. One of the oldest voices, a being made of living mist, finally spoke. "You are dangerous. You move too fast. You build too fast. If you rise unchecked, you will bring war to every star. We have kept peace here for 10,000 years. You may break it in 10. The woman's eyes did not blink. "Peace is not kept by silence," she said. "It is kept by strength. Humanity knows war, yes, but that is why we value peace, and we will defend it." Every word pressed deeper into the chamber. Some delegates lowered their eyes. Others clenched their claws or folded their wings. In their hearts, fear grew. These humans did not look afraid. They looked ready. Above them all, the high speaker of the council shifted in his great chair. His many eyes studied the humans, weighing their presence. He had seen many young races come and fall, but none had arrived like this. None had spoken with such steel in their voices. Finally, he said, "If you wish to stand equal, you will be tested. The council does not accept words alone. We will see if your strength is real." The woman gave a slow nod. "Then test us," she said. "But know this, we will not run, we will not bow." Her words hung in the air like a blade waiting to fall. The council chamber grew quiet again, filled only with the sound of distant machinery humming behind the walls. The humans stood in silence, steady and calm, while the oldest civilizations of the galaxy looked at them with unease. For the first time in ages, the rulers of the stars felt something they thought they had forgotten. They felt fear. The panic the council chamber was never silent for long. Yet after the human woman's words, silence held like iron. Delegates stared, each mind racing with thoughts of danger. The image of the glowing human energy core burned inside their eyes. None wanted to admit it aloud, but they all felt the same thing. Fear. The silence finally cracked. A winged delegate from a desert world slammed his claw against the armrest. This cannot be allowed. Their kind grows like fire. One day it will consume us all. Another, a tall figure made of stone, shook its heavy head. We have guarded this galaxy for ages. We decide when a young race is ready. If humans rise unchecked, everything we built will fall. The whispers grew louder like a storm building. Some called for the humans to be cast out immediately. Some demanded restrictions, others warned of war. Only a few spoke calmly. A gentle voice from a water-breathing race said, "Perhaps their strength may become our strength. Do not turn enemies into enemies before they even strike." But his words were drowned by the fear rising in the hall. Above them, the high speaker raised a hand. The chamber froze again. His many eyes moved slowly, studying each delegate. "We must not show weakness," he said. "If humans think they are our equals now, they will not stop climbing. They will keep climbing until they sit above us." He looked down at the three humans who stood calm and steady. "The council will test you, yes. But do not mistake this for welcome. You are here because you force us to see you, not because we chose you." The humans did not flinch. The woman answered, "We do not need your welcome. We only need the truth. And the truth is that we are already here." Her words sent another wave of whispers across the chamber. The alien minds twisted around her confidence. She spoke with no fear, no hesitation. It was unnatural. It was dangerous. Far away in the shadowed corners of the chamber, secret messages passed through hidden channels. Some delegates began to send orders back to their fleets. Armies were to be readied. Watchers were to follow human ships. Weapons that had not been used in centuries were to be tested again. The council chamber itself was not the only place where panic lived that night. Across the galaxy, news spread like lightning. Worlds that had never heard the name Earth before now spoke it in hushed tones. Children asked what humans were. Soldiers sharpened their blades and cleaned their weapons. Rulers stared into the night sky, wondering if tomorrow the humans would arrive at their doors. In one corner of the chamber, a leader of a powerful reptilian empire whispered to his aide, "They are too bold. If they pass the test, they will become untouchable. We must see that they fail." Another, a queen from a world of ice, nodded in secret agreement. "Let the test be deadly. Let them learn their place," but not all shared that thought. A younger race, long held at the edge of power, watched with hidden hope. They thought, if humans can rise so fast, maybe we too can rise. To them, the humans were not a threat, but a spark. Back in the center, the high speaker spoke again. "The test will be decided by this council. You will prove your worth or be broken. Until then, you will be watched. Every step you take, every word you speak will be weighed." The human commander gave a short nod. "We expected nothing less." The delegates looked at one another. They had hoped to see fear in the human faces. They had hoped to see doubt, maybe even weakness. But what they saw instead was calm. That calm was more frightening than any weapon. Later, when the humans left the chamber under heavy guard, the delegates began to argue loudly, their voices sharp and full of panic. "They cannot be controlled. They must be stopped. They are not ready. They are too ready." The chamber shook with anger and fear. Old alliances began to crack as races argued over what should be done. For the first time in centuries, the council was divided. And the cause of it all was three humans who had spoken no more than a few dozen words. In the quiet hallway outside, the humans walked together. The younger man whispered, "They fear us already." The woman's eyes stayed forward. "Good. Fear will make them cautious. But it will also make them dangerous. We must be ready for both." Behind them, the sound of the chamber doors slamming shut echoed like the closing of a tomb. Inside, the rulers of the galaxy had begun to plan. Some planned to test, some planned to cheat, and some planned to kill. For the council, the humans were not guests. They were a problem too powerful, too fast, and too unpredictable, a problem that had to be solved before it grew larger. But what the council did not yet know was that humanity had faced fear before. On Earth, in their short history, They had survived endless wars, plagues, storms, and fire. Fear was not new to them. It was a language they already understood, and as panic spread through the galaxy, the humans only grew more steady. The test of power. The message came the next morning. The Council had spoken. Humanity would face its test. The chamber doors opened again, but this time the humans were led into a smaller hall filled with watchers. Dozens of alien eyes glowed in the dim light. Some burned with curiosity, others with hunger. None showed kindness. The test was not meant to be fair. It was meant to prove one thing, that humans could be broken. The High Speaker's voice carried across the hall. You say you are strong. You say you are ready to stand among us. Then prove it. You will complete what no young race has ever completed before. Enter the trial ground and survive. A wall behind the chamber opened. Beyond it stretched a vast arena, dark, filled with smoke, shifting floors, and hidden machines. The watchers leaned forward in silence. Every delegate had heard of this place. It was built to crush, not to test. No race had ever been invited here so early. The three humans walked inside without hesitation. The floor shook as it sealed behind them. The woman in front turned her head once, just enough to whisper, "Remember who is watching." The two men nodded. The ground shifted under their feet. Metal walls rose like towers, forming a maze. Strange machines crawled along the walls, glowing with red eyes. Distant roars echoed through the corridors. The trial had begun. The watchers outside whispered to one another. They will not last long. See how the walls close already? They will be trapped in minutes. This is not a test. This is execution. Inside the maze, the humans moved carefully. The man with the scanning device checked his readings. They are trying to box us in, but the energy pulses repeat. The pattern is weak, the woman smiled faintly. Then use it. Predict the trap before it closes. Metal claws tore from the walls, slamming down where they had stood only seconds earlier. The humans moved as one, ducking and weaving. They did not scream. They did not panic. Their movements were sharp and practiced, like soldiers who had trained in harsher places. The watchers leaned forward. Confusion began to grow. Most young races screamed, scattered, and begged for mercy when the claws struck. The humans did not. They adapted. The maze grew darker. Roars came closer. A shadow moved, larger than any machine. The walls opened to release a beast with 4 arms and teeth like knives. Its body was covered in black scales, each scale hard as stone. The beast roared, shaking the arena. The woman drew no weapon. She only raised her hands to signal her team. The younger man drew a compact tool from his belt. It was not a gun, not a blade, but a device that glowed with blue light. He pressed it against the ground. A sharp wave of energy burst outward. The beast staggered, confused. Now! The woman commanded. The second man hurled a small sphere from the case they carried. It exploded into light, blinding the beast. Before it could recover, the woman moved in close. She had nothing but her strength and her speed. She climbed the beast's arm like a ladder, reached its head and pressed another device against its skull. The beast roared once more. Then it fell, shaking the floor. The watchers gasped. Impossible. One shouted. They should not have weapons inside the trial. Another cried. But the High Speaker's many eyes narrowed. He saw it differently. The humans had not carried weapons of destruction. They had carried tools, small and simple, used with perfect timing. They had not relied on brute force, but on discipline. The humans stood over the fallen beast, calm and silent. Their breathing was steady, their faces unreadable. They looked less like prey and more like hunters. The arena shifted again. Walls fell away, opening into a wide plain. A storm rose above them, lightning flashing across the sky. Wind screamed through the hall. The younger man lifted his scanner. They are trying to break the ground under us. The woman nodded. Then let it fall. We climb higher. Lightning struck. The ground cracked. Towers of steel rose from the broken plain, each slick and sharp. The humans climbed with steady hands, moving from tower to tower while the storm raged. Lightning struck close but never touched them. Every movement was sure, practiced, almost fearless. The watchers could not stay silent any longer. Why are they not afraid? No one survives the storm. They move like they knew the trial before they entered. The humans reached the highest tower and stood together, facing the storm. Lightning struck again, but instead of falling back, the woman raised her arm. The device on her wrist glowed, redirecting the strike. For a moment, light surrounded her like a crown. The watchers stared in silence. The storm slowed. The machines powered down. The maze collapsed into nothing. The trial was complete. The humans stood tall on the last tower as the floor shifted, bringing them back to the chamber. When the walls opened again, they walked out as calmly as they had entered. Dust covered their uniforms, but their eyes shone with the same steady fire. The high speaker leaned forward. His voice was heavy. "You have passed." But the chamber did not cheer. It did not welcome. It only whispered, full of fear and anger, for the council had seen something they had hoped not to see. Humanity had not just survived the trial. They had mastered it. The woman spoke only once as they left. "Now you know. We do not break." And every delegate felt the weight of her words. Humanity was no longer a distant rumor. Humanity was real, unshaken, and rising. The turning point. The trial should have ended the story of humanity. That was the council's plan. Yet instead of breaking, the humans had climbed higher. Instead of falling, they had stood taller. The entire chamber felt it. Something had shifted. Something that could not be undone. The council had tested them with claws, beasts, and storms. The humans had answered with calm, unity, and skill. They had turned the trap into their victory. That night, whispers spread across every corridor of the council halls. Delegates who once spoke with certainty now argued in fear. They cannot be contained. They are too disciplined. They are too fast. If they can pass the trial, then they can face anything. For centuries, the council had believed it controlled the rise of every race. No species reached the stars without its approval. But now one small world had broken that order. Humanity had not asked for permission. Humanity had forced the galaxy to see them. In private chambers, some leaders began to speak of alliances. The younger races, long held down by the council's rules, whispered with new courage. If humans can rise, maybe so can we. Hope began to glow in places where fear had ruled for ages. But others spoke of war. Old powers threatened by change clenched their claws and sharpened their blades. "If they are not stopped now," one delegate hissed, "then we will never stop them." The high speaker himself sat in silence, his many eyes staring into the darkness. He had watched the humans closely. He had seen no weakness in their test, and deep within he felt something he had not felt in 1,000 years. Doubt. The next day the humans were summoned again. This time not to a trial ground, but to the central chamber. The seats were filled, the watchers countless. The air itself seemed to tremble. The woman stood at the center once more, her two companions at her side. Her voice carried strong. "We came not to beg. We came to stand equal. You have seen our strength. You have seen our will. Now you must decide. Will you face us as partners, or will you face us as enemies?" Her words fell heavy on the chamber. Some delegates shifted uneasily. Others glared with burning hate. A tall reptilian leader rose from his seat. His scales glistened under the crystal light. "You are dangerous. You move too fast. You bring weapons where you should bring gifts. We cannot trust you. You will bring chaos to the stars." The woman's gaze was steady. "We bring chaos only to those who chain others. We bring peace to those who stand beside us. Choose which you are." Her words struck like lightning. The chamber erupted in shouts. Some demanded humanity be welcomed. Others cried for their exile. Still others whispered of fleets already moving into position. Amid the storm, a quiet voice rose. It belonged to a delegate of a small race, one long ignored by the council. His form was thin, his eyes bright. You fear them because they are strong. But strength does not always mean destruction. They are what we all once were, hungry, unbroken, alive. Perhaps they remind us of what we lost. Silence followed his words. Many did not agree, but none could deny the truth in them. The humans stood silent, letting the chamber fight with itself. Every second that passed only showed their patience, their control. The aliens who expected fear saw none. The ones who hoped for arrogance saw none. The humans gave nothing but steady fire. In the far corner, secret messages flowed again. Fleets were being moved. Plans of ambush were whispered. Humanity's rise had forced the galaxy into a choice: change or crush them before change spread too far. But what none of the council realized was that the turning point had already come. The trial had been their weapon, but it had turned into humanity's shield. The council had given humans a stage. and the humans had used it to show the entire galaxy who they were. That night, across 1,000 worlds, the story was told. On water planets and desert colonies, in icy caves and blazing cities, beings gathered around their screens and spoke one name with awe and fear: humanity. Children repeated the word in play. Soldiers whispered it before sharpening their blades. Traders calculated what it would mean for markets, what new goods and new dangers it would bring. And rulers stayed awake through the dark hours staring at maps of stars, wondering how long it would take before human ships appeared in their skies. The council had planned to test a young race. Instead, it had awakened a storm. Inside her private chamber, the human commander looked out at the alien city through a wide glass window. Lights glittered across the horizon, countless and strange. She spoke softly to her companions. "They will not welcome us." "Not yet, but they cannot ignore us." "That is enough," the younger man asked. "Do you think they will strike first?" She did not turn her head. "Yes, fear always strikes first. But when it does, we will answer." Behind them, the stars burned cold and endless. The humans stood between fear and hope, and the galaxy trembled at their steps. The turning point had come. Humanity was no longer the outsider knocking at the gates. Humanity was inside, standing tall, and no force could erase that truth. The unstoppable path the council had planned to test, then dismiss. Instead, it now stood divided, broken by fear and doubt. Humanity had passed the trial. Humanity had spoken with calm strength, and now every star in the galaxy carried the name of Earth. The chamber was heavy with silence when the humans entered again. Delegates shifted uncomfortably, their bodies tense. They had seen too much. They had seen humans walk through storms, face beasts, and climb where no one should climb. They had seen them stand steady when others would crawl. The High Speaker's many eyes studied them carefully. For all his centuries, he had never felt the ground move beneath him, but now he felt it. Humanity was not a guest. Humanity was not a mistake. Humanity was a tide rising fast, and no wall could hold it. "You came uninvited," he said, his voice echoing. "You forced yourselves into this hall. You speak of peace but carry the shadow of war. What are we to believe?" The human commander stepped forward. Her eyes were calm, her voice clear. "Believe what you see. We are not here to bow. We are not here to burn. We are here to rise. If you accept us, we rise with you. If you reject us, we rise without you. Either way we rise." Gasps broke across the chamber. Some called it arrogance. Others called it truth. A delegate from a warlike empire hissed, "You threaten us. You speak as if no force can stop you." The woman's gaze did not break. "Not threat, promise. We do not seek your chains, and we will not give you ours. We carry scars of war, but from those scars we learned strength. That strength is now our path." The words carried beyond the chamber. Broadcasts sent them across the stars. On distant worlds, millions listened. In silent ships drifting through the void, captains replayed her voice again and again. For the first time, the galaxy realized that the Council was no longer the only center of power. A new force had stepped into the stars, and it did not ask for permission. In the shadows of the chamber, some delegates exchanged fearful glances. Secret fleets had already been ordered to move. Traps had already been planned. Yet as they looked at the humans standing tall, doubts grew. Could even fleets stop them? Could war crush a people who turned trials into victories? The younger human leaned close to the commander and whispered, "They are trembling, even the strongest of them." She did not smile. "Fear is dangerous. Fear will strike, but we will be ready." Then she lifted her head and spoke again for all to hear. "We do not come as conquerors, but if you try to conquer us, we will not stop. Remember that." Her words hung in the air like a blade. The chamber fell into silence. The council had no reply. Far across the galaxy, the ripple spread. On worlds where rulers had held their people down for centuries, whispers grew into cries. If humans could rise, so could they. On planets where old empires had reigned without challenge, unease spread. Their future was no longer theirs alone. The unstoppable path had begun. Later, as the humans stood at the window of their quarters, they looked out at the alien city glowing with countless lights. The younger man asked quietly, "Do you think they will ever accept us?" The commander's eyes stayed on the horizon. "They may, or they may fight us. But it does not matter. We step forward no matter what. That is humanity." Her words were simple, but behind them lived the truth of their kind. On Earth, they had risen from caves to cities, from fire to machines, from war to fragile peace. Every time the world tried to break them, they rose again. And now, in the heart of the galaxy, nothing had changed. The Council had seen it. The galaxy had felt it. Humanity was not a guest at the table. Humanity was a storm breaking through the walls. The commander turned away from the window at last. Tomorrow they will try again. Another test, another trick. Let them come. We will answer. We will always answer. The three humans stood together, steady as stone, while the stars outside burned bright and endless. For the first time in countless ages, the rulers of the galaxy feared the future. For the first time, they saw that the future did not belong to them alone. It belonged also to the newcomers, to the species from a small blue world, to the ones who never bowed, to the ones who rose no matter the weight. It belonged to humanity, and nothing would stop their path.